You know, given how many times they say the word minors in this movie, I'm honestly surprised Dr. Disrespect hasn't called it his favorite movie of the year yet. Oh well, still 3 months left to do that. To be perfectly honest with you guys, I wasn't really that hyped to go see Transformers 1. I'm not that big into Transformers overall, I haven't watched that many of the shows, and as for the movies, I've only had Michael Bay to thank for my cinematic experience. Not to mention the trailers did not do this movie justice. These trailers, man, just made it look like every generic kiddie adventure out there. Really annoying, really unfunny side characters. With an exception of the animation, this looked borderline like an Illumination movie. Oh, look at all these big stars we've cast in our movie. We got Thor as Optimus Prime, and Keegan-Michael Key as Bumblebee. We got Scarlett Johansson as the girl, and Steve Buscemi as Starscream. Actually, I like that one. I really like that one. Whoever thought of casting Steve Buscemi as Starscream, give that bitch a raise. Bitches love raises. But yeah, the trailers weren't doing it for me. But then the movie came out and people were just going off about how amazing it is and that it's peak Transformers and to ignore the trailers. I mean, sure, we've been misled by trailers before. I'm sure it wouldn't have been as bad as it led on, but come on, it can't be that good, can it? It's that good. Yeah, this is a pretty damn good movie. You can tell that people who grew up watching Transformers made this, and they wanted to do this franchise justice. This is a freaking gorgeous movie, from the surface and how it's constantly building itself and changing, to the wildlife, to Icon City. This movie brings Cybertron to life in a way that makes me want to go there. Or at least I would if I wouldn't be crushed by 50-foot robots. Again, I'm not super familiar with Transformers, so I can't attest to how accurate the main characters look like to the original. But as for me, I think they look really good. I love how their bodies all move around and how they use it in the fight scenes. Which, speaking of which, holy shit, these fight scenes are freaking phenomenal. From the speed and scale of the fights, to the way the Transformers actually use their transforming abilities in said fights, this is such a cool looking movie. Seriously, how is this and Toy Story 4 the only movies that Josh has ever directed? And they're both wildly different movies at that. Good job, man. Give this guy more movies to direct, please. I'm serious. But on top of all that, even if I'm not the biggest fan of Transformers, even I knew the draw-in for this movie was gonna be Optimus and Megatron and how their friendship eventually falls apart. Now, I know some people might get mad at me for spoiling this part of the movie, but I feel like if you do know your Transformers lore, Sentinel Prime being a twist villain wasn't that big of a shock. Hell, I don't even know Transformers all that well, and I saw this shit coming in the first 10 minutes. I knew where they were going with him. But honestly, the fight to stop Sentinel isn't the focus of the film. Instead, it's exactly where it needs to be, which is on Orion Pax and D-16 becoming Optimus Prime and Megatron. While I do feel the movie does take a little too long to get the main plot going, I guess, silver lining, it does let us see more of how Orion and D really were like brothers who couldn't live without each other. With Orion being the optimist who always has to try and better himself, and D being the downtrodden pessimist who's resigned himself to his life of mediocrity. And when the twist does come that Sentinel is a villain, the shock isn't from him being a villain, it's D's anger and reaction to being lied to his whole life. How, for the first time ever, he's ready to take control of his own life, only through way more extreme measures compared to Orion. It's that kind of sophistication that you love to see in these kids' movies. How you can see both sides and see where they're both coming from. Honestly, I was on D's side the whole time. Fuck this traitor who sold his whole race out for profit. Fuck him up, King. Do what you gotta do. You bet your ass I'd be a Decepticon in real life. They're just that cool. It's kind of like an Empire from Star Wars situation. You get it. But you also get why Orion wants to stop him. Not just because D's going too far and it wouldn't be right to save the world through an execution, but he also wants to save his friend. I honestly expected this movie to puss out telling this story. Like, something in the back of my head was telling me they're not really gonna go through with it. They're not actually gonna show Optimus and Megatron actually become full-fledged enemies, just like I thought Star Wars The Clone Wars wasn't gonna go and show us Order 66. But they actually did it. They show us the actual breakdown of their friendship and eventual rise to their rivalry, and it's paced well and dramatic and truly heartbreaking. Like, this movie ends in a pretty bittersweet way, actually. You know, if this movie does well, they'll make more movies of this story, and honestly, I'm hoping they do. I would love to see more of what these people who truly love Transformers can do with the property now that it's no longer like this.
Bumblebee. Stop lubricating the man.
Get that thing to stop!
Yeah, no more of that, please. Thank you. But I am down with bringing back Linkin Park. Make that happen. Even the voice cast was really well put together. Almost everyone just fits their character perfectly. It got to a point where I honestly forgot I was hearing big name actors, and I was instead hearing characters. You know what I mean? There's no Chris Pratt in this movie. That's what I mean. Keegan-Michael Key is perhaps the only one that stands out too much. I wasn't too big a fan of Bumblebee being the comic relief in this movie. He was never that funny, and some of his jokes just dragged very hard and too long. But to be fair, they're nowhere near as common as I was afraid they would be. He's no Goat from Wish or Sisu from Raya and the Last Dragon. He just kind of blends into the background for the most part. You know why he's here, even though Jazz is in the movie, and frankly, I believe Bumblebee is a bit oversaturated when it comes to this franchise, so maybe give the Jazz Man some love, but that's just me. I didn't hate Bumblebee in this movie, but I won't be mad if they rip his voice box out in the next movie. Hell, it might actually become my favorite scene in the next movie if they do make it. Sorry, not sorry. I honestly don't have a whole lot else to say. This was just a damn good movie that I want more people to go check out. Maybe there are scenes that go on a bit too long, and the comedy really doesn't do it for me, and we also could have used more Steve Buscemi as Starscream, but that's like 10 to 15% of the movie. Everything else was pretty damn good. I like seeing a kids movie that isn't afraid to tell a tragic story nowadays, and not end on a perfect, happy note. It's good to challenge kids and have them feel these kinds of emotions. That a story doesn't have to have a happy ending to be a satisfying one. I know Across the Spider-Verse did this last year, but that's Spider-Verse. Those movies are breaking every rule in the book when it comes to animated movies. And if that means more animated movies aren't afraid to take bold risks in storytelling like this, then I am all in for it. Just next time, don't lie to your audience with shitty marketing like this movie did. Just show the audience what kind of movie you're selling. I promise you, people will like it. So, would I say this is the best animated movie of the year so far? Well, I don't know if I'd say that. I think I still liked Inside Out 2 more. It was definitely a far funnier movie, that's for sure. But honestly, I think I'm putting all my money on the other animated robot movie coming out this year. And you can probably guess what that movie's gonna be.
This deathbed